Paved streets in Pasco County lead to a hefty bill 7 years after the fact. All in all, $850,000 in bills hitting a group of neighbors for public roads outside of their homes. It's a special 8 on Your Side investigation that we're diving into here on WFLA Now. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you on the left side of your screen, being joined by Better Call Benkin, 8 on Your Sides. Shannon Benkin joining us there on the right side of your screen. We, of course, have activated the WFLA Now live chat. You can use hashtag HeyShannon, hashtag Better Call Benkin, any of the hashtags that you see here on your screen to have your question or comment featured here. But I will tell you, if I got a bill for tens of thousands of dollars for public streets outside of my home for paving those streets, that was 7 years ago when the project was completed, Shannon, I'd be furious. This is something that makes me, of course, makes me go, how could this have happened? So why don't you explain it here for our viewers? Again, a story that you'll see tonight at 6 o'clock on WFLA.
Well, JB, a lot of these people are furious. We started to get phone calls from a neighborhood in Lakuchi in Pasco County. It happens to be a kind of a poorer neighborhood, and these folks started to get these bills back in November, and they had 30 days, so right before Christmas, to pay the bills. Some people have bills that are as high as $20,000, and they were really upset about why they had this bill. People were given the choice to either pay all of the money up front, or you can pay monthly or yearly installments over 10 years, but at an interest rate of 4.25%. So when I started looking into this, I was trying to figure out what was happening to these people in Lakuchi, because for many of us, when you live on a public street, you just assume that the public takes care of it. Government takes care of it. You don't get a bill. I live in Hillsborough County. I know it's that way in Pinellas County. But apparently it's not that way in Pasco County. If you live on a major thoroughfare, it is. But if you live on most residential streets in Pasco County, they send you what's called a paving assessment fee. And typically 50% of people have to agree to this. But as you'll see tonight in my story, the people in Lakuchi, they didn't get the chance to vote. Nobody that I talked to would have voted for it, and now they're stuck with the bill. And the reason why this is an important story is because people are telling me that it's time that Pasco County change the way that it charges residents to pay for roads, especially since Pasco is a growing community. It's one of the fastest growing areas in all of Florida.
And we have, I think, as you spoke to some neighbors here too, Shannon. I think I have a soundbite here queued up. Who's the woman that we're about to hear from here?
Yes, I want you to hear from this woman. This is one of many people that met me out that day to talk about this, and she'll tell you about the shock that she got when she opened up the bill back in November, right before Christmas.
And they gave me until December 20th, 30 days, to come up with $874.70. If I pay it off, it's $8,747.
That's $8,000+ that this woman owes for something that, again, was completed 7 or so years ago, if I'm following this here correctly.
Yes, this was completed back in 2013, and you can hear the frustration in her voice, the panic of trying to figure out how they're going to come up with all of this money. And again, this is a community, if you know Lakuchi, I looked it up in census, it's 40% of the people who live there live below the poverty line. So these people are really, they're struggling already, and now they're struggling to figure out how they're going to make these payments. And a lot of these people don't understand how this process works. And so I've tried to walk them through how this works, because they're finding out that they have liens on their homes, and of course that means that they have to take care of this before they can sell their house. So if they do sell their house, you know, that's equity that just comes right off the top.
It's an eye-opening story, folks, you're going to see tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock, a Better Call Benkin investigation. Again, tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6. But while we have Shannon here, we're here to answer some of the questions that you might have here on this story, a question in advance of it airing, kind of a special preview here of Shannon's report. Again, an investigation she's been working on for several weeks. So if you have a comment, a question, maybe you just want to vent here about this going on here in Pasco County, use hashtag HeyShannon. You can use hashtag Better Call Benkin, hashtag WFLA Now. Well, I got my eyes here on the Facebook Live comment section for anybody that wants to ask a question to Shannon. But, you know, one of the comments that I just saw scroll up here on my screen was, in big capital letters, this is what taxes are for. So for folks that are, inquiring as to where taxes fall in here and whether or not this is categorized or classify as taxes, what do we say for these folks?
Well, that's the question everyone has. That's the question I had in the very beginning of this investigation, trying to figure out how this can happen. And basically, roads are paved for in two different ways. They can charge you through millage, which is what you're referring to and why you think it's taxes that pay for it. So property owners pay a millage tax every year. It comes on your property bill. Typically, it's less than $200. So a lot of people don't realize that that's what it is. It's just tacked onto your property taxes, but that's what it is. So that money goes into a big pot, road fund, and every time a road needs to be paved, they get money from that fund to pay for it. So you don't realize it, but it spreads the cost of paving all of the roads in a county or municipality out for everyone to pay a small fraction of that, because a lot of people drive on these roads, not just the people that live outside the road. But in Pasco County, they use this thing called a pave system, which is a paving assessment system, and they charge only the people that would benefit from that road being paved. And in this case, that's how some folks ended up with bills $5,000. Some folks ended up with bills $20,000, and it's because of the way the property is zoned and because of how large that property is. So if you have an apartment complex, you're going to be charged more than you would be charged if it's a single family home.
We have a lot of questions that are now starting to come in here on Facebook Live, again with hashtag Hey Shannon or hashtag Better Call Bankin. But Lori here with a good starter. This is a good starting question here to begin with. Hashtag Hey Shannon. Why the delay? Well, 7 years is a long time. So a project that, again, was completed or it really took shape in 2013, right? Was completed just this, or excuse me, now bills getting sent in the mail and bills arriving in folks' mailboxes in 2020. Why the delay?
Well, Lori, that is a question I'm still trying to get the answer to. It seems to be a bit of a mystery as to why it's taken so long. The county tells me that they were trying to work out a dispute, so to speak, that ended up a legal dispute, they called it, with a homeowner who had some questions about this. I don't know why it took 7 years, but for some reason it took 7 years before this went before the county commission in November, and the commission had to approve sending out the bills. So some of the people that were on the commission back in 2013 when this were approved, they're not on the commission anymore. Some are, but the people that are on the commission now had to decide to follow through with this ordinance that was passed back in 2013 and finish this project and send out the bills.
Yeah, and a lot of questions pertaining to this right now here in the Facebook Live comment section. And Kelly here is also bringing up a really great point. Hashtag Shannon, why did the county take so long to build a residence? It would not be fair to those, I think it's meant to say fair, to those who may move to the location recently. They sure picked up a bad time to do it. COVID. Yeah, this is all happening during a pandemic when a lot of folks are losing their jobs or have been furloughed for an extended period of time. But let's start here with the middle statement here of Kelly's comment. If you just moved here, let's say you moved to this neighborhood just a couple of years ago, are you still footing this bill?
You are. The county says that this bill goes with the property, not with the person. And we actually talked to a lady who came out of her house while we were taking this footage you're seeing here, and she said, I got a bill for $5,000, but I'm not paying it because I didn't live here then. And I had to break it to her that that doesn't matter, that this goes with the property, and now that she's the property record owner, she has to pay it.
And that's why also here, folks, too, that we're asking you in a poll question that we're going to reveal the results of here in a few minutes' time. We're asking, should Pasco County be changing the way that residents are charged or the way that residents have to pay for these public roads when it comes to pavement projects here? So we're going to have the results of that poll here momentarily. Let's get to L.A. Ramirez's comment, hashtag Hey Shannon. How do we stop this? This is happening to my neighborhood right now.
Oh, wow. I'd love to hear more about where your neighborhood is and what you're seeing. You feel free to email me after this. My email address should be online here. I'd love to hear more about what you're seeing. As far as how you stop it, it's difficult because it depends on what point of the process your neighborhood is in. So if you're in the very beginning stage and they're asking for your vote, so to speak, then you have a chance to vote against it. But if 50% of your neighbors agree, it doesn't matter that you're a no vote, you're still going to have to foot this bill. So as far as stopping it going forward, you need to reach out to county commissioners, because it's my understanding that commissioners are considering making a change, and I'm hoping that this story will show them how difficult it is for some neighbors, especially communities like Lacoochee, to get these bills. So let your county commissioner know what you want them to do and how you want them to vote.
I got my eyes here in the Facebook Live comment section for questions for Shannon. Use hashtag HeyShannon, hashtag BetterCallBenkin here in the Facebook Live comment section. We'll feature you here on screen like LA with a really good comment here. And we have another one coming in here from El Bromista. Hashtag HeyJB, what happens if you don't pay it? This is another really big question. You get this bill, and you and I were talking a little bit about this off stream, that there are payment plans, but there's interest attached to those payment plans too, right? So you can either pay it all up front, which I would believe that a majority of residents just don't have, you know, $8,000 laying around, but there is the payment plan option for those folks as well.
Right. You can make the payment plan option, but if you don't pay it all, it depends on at what point this happened in the ordinance process, and that's where it gets a little complicated, because back in 2013, the way that the county billed was the way that these folks are being billed now. You get this big bill, they put you on this payment plan if you don't want to pay it, and you just keep paying for the 10 years. The way they do it now, they'll still send you the big bill. You'll have a chance to pay it off, and if you don't want to pay it off or you can't pay it off, then you're going to have to get charged this interest, but they will tack it onto your property tax bill, which in a way is worse, because if for some reason you can't pay your property taxes, the county could foreclose on your house. So this is a serious bill. You cannot just ignore it. Yeah, it's something that, again, we're going to be delving into a little bit more on WFLA News Channel 8 tonight at 6 o'clock. El Bromista, thanks for your comment here on Facebook Live. And we've had a couple of other comments just come in here in the last several moments. I think one or two of them got deleted here. Let's talk a little bit more about what these residents are doing as far as taking action here. Is there any organized effort amongst these neighbors to kind of to fight back? Can they fight back and organize and try to get some sort of result? Well, their organized effort was to turn to me. So I went out there and I had them meet me at an area church, and they brought maps and they showed me all of the roads, and we walked those roads. And I do want to bring up too, JB, we're talking 14 roads, just over 2 miles. So this is not a lot of road. And for most of these houses, as you can see, the driveways aren't very long. So they're looking at it like I'm paying $5,000 for this tiny strip of land or of pavement, but the county looks at it differently. They look at it based on your zoning and how big your property is. But as for fighting back, the people in Lacoochee, the only thing that they can do right now is pay this or figure out a way to get grant approval. And that's one of the things I mentioned to the county, because back when they said that they were going to do this back in 2013, the county said that if you're low income, there is a grant that you can apply for. Almost everybody I talk to in Lacoochee says that they think they should qualify, but when they've called, they don't qualify. For some reason, this grant that was supposed to help these people is not helping these people. So I'm trying to help them get in touch with their county commissioner so that he can make sure that their situation is looked into to see if they qualify.
Again, taking some questions here on the Facebook Live. I was just reading this comment here from Dennis Baxter, and this is a good question. Hashtag AJB, if this has been the law for some time now, what have people done in the past? Just pay it? And Dennis is very much similar to a lot of our other commenters saying, I've never heard of this.
Very good question. I had never heard of it either, and I've been in this area for a long time. But apparently this has been the way Pasco County has paved residential roads since 1985. And you'll be maybe shocked to hear that, but the commissioner told me that back when they came up with this plan in 1985, and it's Commissioner Ron Oakley. He's the commissioner for Lacoochee. He's also the chairman of the board. He said that back then the people on that side of the county, because it's rural, they did not want to pay for the paving projects on the other side of the county that was growing like crazy. So they decided to go through this pavement assessment. That way their taxes in their mind would be lower and they wouldn't be paying for the progress on the other side of the county. So you didn't hear a lot of complaining. But now progress has moved to this other side of the county, and that's one of the reasons why the commission wanted to do this in the first place, And I noticed that there's been a big change in these roads. There's a lot of buses that are on these roads now. There's a lot of big trucks on these roads. So they wanted these roads paved to bring progress to Lucucci. So now you have neighborhoods like this that are complaining. As for not hearing about it before, I mean, this happened in 2013. You're not hearing about these people's complaints until now. So it makes me wonder how many other people are getting these bills. And since we started to promote this story last week, I can tell you I'm hearing from other people getting bills. We just heard from someone on this live feed getting bills. Yep. So if you are getting these bills, I want to hear from you. We're looking into who's getting them, how much, and how this process went, and whether or not you were given the right to vote.
I just posted in the comment section here on Facebook Live the Better Call Benkin email address, which is, of course, bettercallbenkin@WFLA.com. You can also give a call to 1-855-BENKIN. That is information that we just commented with in the WFLA Facebook Live comment section. Just a few more minutes here before we get to our poll results, and then, of course, we pave the way, pun completely intended here, for Shannon's live report tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock. Dennis, thanks a lot for your comment here. Loretta Baker, hashtag Hey Shannon. This is a long comment here, so we're going to kind of read this out here for you, Shannon. Hashtag Hey Shannon. I live on a county road. It's on maps that is in dire need of work. It's in Meridian. Access is Highway 19 and is used by a lot of people, not only residents. There are semi-trucks, delivery trucks, school buses that use this road every day. The county, Pasco, has said it's not a county road, and it's up to the residents along the road to vote in millage to pay for redoing it. Sounds like a cop-out to me. So here we have another story here of somebody else experiencing something very similar here, and talking about a roadway near her that's in dire need of work.
If it's a private road, then, and the county's telling you it's not a county road, then it must be a private road, and then you and your neighbors would be responsible for it. It's a shame that you mentioned that, so many people are using your private road. If you have buses, like you mentioned, and Pasco County trucks using it, then, I would want to do a little bit more inquiry to find out, is it truly a private road or is it truly a public road? But as we've been reporting here, even if it's a public county road, it's not going to get you out of paying for this road to be paved. The only way that would happen is if it's a major thoroughfare road, think of like a little road, then the county would pay to pave and maintain that road.
Thank you a whole lot, Loretta, for your comment here. A couple more just coming in here now. Brian McKay here, hashtag AJB. I got hit exactly like this in Holiday and wound up with a lien. Yeah, so that's another commenter here chiming in and saying that they have experienced something similar. And then Lori Cody chiming in again here, hashtag Hey Shannon. I'm familiar with paving assessment, but normally they are approved and everyone is aware of them. And if the property is sold, the new owner either takes over the bill or the selling person pays in full. The delay seems to be the big problem. And Lori and others here are commenting that, again, the 7-year gap is really what sticks out most to them.
The 7-year gap definitely sticks out mostly because, as we've talked about, some people moved to this neighborhood and didn't have any idea about this. They didn't get the chance to vote. But as you mentioned, usually people get to vote in most cases. In this case, I found, and you'll see tonight in my investigation, that the people of Lucucci did not get the chance to vote. This was what was called a board-initiated project. So the board decided that these folks needed roads, maybe for some of that commercial development that they have brought in the past 7 years, but they voted to put these roads in knowing that it would send the bill to these residents. So they didn't get the chance to vote. But even when you do get the chance to vote, it's 50%. So you could be among the 49% that don't want it, that can't afford it, don't want it, but you're still going to have to pay.
Yeah, it's again, this is a story that that is eye-opening for a lot, myself included, something that Shannon's been working on here at WFLA over the last several weeks. Let's get to our poll results here, folks, on WFLA Now. We were asking you here, after hearing Shannon deliver her live report, we were asking you to tell us here at wherever you're watching from, maybe you're at work, maybe you're at home, depending on wherever you're watching from, tell us, should Pasco County change the way it charges residents to pave roads? 59% say yes, 41% say no. So even though we're seeing what many are commenting here on Facebook Live and saying is, my God, how could this be happening? This is so terrible. These neighbors who have this massive bill now to pay during a pandemic, 60% say, yeah, let's change the way. But a lot of folks, 40%, saying no, leave the system the way it is. What do you make of that, Shannon, before we wrap up here?
Well, I think those of us that are from other counties are more comfortable with the millage rate because that's what most of us have paid all these years. You just get it's less than $200 usually. It's added to your tax bill. It's just absorbed, and everybody kind of splits the cost of paving roads in the county. Pasco has been a bit of a different type of county because of the growth, and it's a very large county. It's quickly growing, but there's a lot of rural areas, and there are still people that are comfortable with the idea of, I don't want to pay for your road all the way across the county. When my road needs to be paved, us neighbors will chip in and we'll pay for our road. But overall, they think that maybe throughout the years they're paying less because they're only paying for their road instead of your road and everyone else's road. But it just depends on how you look at it. If you want to pay the big lump of sum, all at once, or whether or not you just want to pay a little bit over time and absorb that into your property taxes.
Yeah, we had a commenter, Becky here, who just commented a short time ago saying the 40% here probably aren't the ones being hit with the bill itself, and that's a true statement. I think that if you were, of course, getting this bill out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, you would be very much on the yes side here of this poll. I think we had one final comment here, and Deborah Wincoop here, if I can bring up her comment here in just a second. She made a comment here about possible legal action, Shannon, and whether or not legal action is going to be something that is, here it is, Deborah and Wincoop, #KJB. I think a real estate attorney needs to be hired by the residents. Is that even an option? Is that something that's, I guess, a legal opportunity here for the residents in question?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot give legal advice, but I will say that the ordinance in itself, it's extremely legal. They have public hearings typically, and they did have some public hearings, even though these residents didn't get to vote. But typically, they have public hearings, and you get to vote. It's a very public procedure that goes through lots of different steps. So in that regard, no, it's legal. You just might not like the way they do it, but that's the way they do it. There is the problem of the delay that we keep getting back to in this case, and how these people didn't get to vote. It was a board-initiated project, which in Pasco County is allowed, but there was this very long delay before these bills came out, and that might be something that they want to look into.
7 years was that delay here, folks. So a lot of people wanting to know why. Why was it 7 years, not 7 months or 7 weeks? Again, 7 years is just an incredible long amount of time, not to mention the overlap that occurs from people that were living in this neighborhood, that sold their homes here in this neighborhood. To answer all these questions, of course, and to hear from some of the residents themselves, you can watch tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock. Shannon, before we go, what can folks expect tonight on News Channel 8 at 6?
Well, you're going to hear from some of the neighbors that we just talked about, and hearing it from me is one thing, hearing it from them and seeing, especially in this poor community of Lucucci, and you can see some there. We're going to have a lot more video tonight showing you, some of the struggles that these people go through, and to hear the panic in their voices really resonates. And those folks that are in the 40%, once they hear that, they may want to change their minds there a little bit. But you're also going to hear from the county commissioner, because I took this to County Commissioner Ron Oakley. He is the commissioner for Lucucci. He's the chairman of the commission. And I asked him point blank, what are you going to do about this? What can you do to help these people? What can you do to help people going forward? And you'll hear his very candid responses coming up at 6.
That's tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock. And then again, if anyone found this live stream, whether we're live or it's after the fact, maybe you found us here days or so later, hours or days or so later, you can, of course, email Shannon Benkin here, better call Benkin at WFLA.com, or call 1-855-BENKIN if you have a story similar in nature, or if you think this is going on in your neighborhood. Shannon would like to hear from you. You can, of course, contact her at the email and phone number provided. We'll see you tonight, everybody, on WFLA News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock for Better Call Benkin. Thanks so much for joining.